to right off the top. Then, the D in Big D stands for diminished. Why there is cause to be very concerned about the Cowboys' offense this fall. And then, with each passing day, does running it back in Brooklyn feel likelier and likelier? Woj is in the house, which means we've got all the answers as we get up with you starting right about now and take a look at the squad we are put together. We're ready to roll today. Alan Hahn is here. The legendary Woj is in the house. Tim Bontemps back for more, and we're delighted to see it, and the football crew is ready to go as well this morning. Let's take a look. Dominique is up. Jeff Darlington is up. And the Sacho man ready to roll on this brand new Monday. But let's start with the action from the weekend. And action it was. Everyone watching this Drew League where LeBron James scored 42 points, teaming up with DeMar DeRoza in a victory in that league, which we will explain in a moment for those who don't know it. But then after he played, it was LeBron talking about his championship mentality entering year 20 in the NBA.
I'm obsessed with it, with win or bust. And what makes me have sleepless nights is when you don't have everyone that feels the same way on your club. Like, it's times where I wish I was like a tennis player or a golfer, where it was literally like, look in the mirror, mother is you versus you.
All right, fascinating. All right, first, that's basically.
I love that alone. That's a PSA to every young player.
I guess, but how would you like to be one of his teammates when he says that? Sometimes I wish this was tennis, because then I would have a better chance to win. Let's just very quickly start with the question everyone was asking me this weekend. What is Drew League?
Drew League, it's summer circuit. It's just a lot of professional players. I'm going to make jokes about how, LeBron playing against a bunch of electricians and plumbers. This is not at the Y. This is professionals. Guys who play in the NBA, guys who play overseas. Now, LeBron showing up, that's a bit of a surprise at this stage of his career, but, that's a message we'll try to decipher. Why is he playing now? But the Drew League it's played at a middle school, by the way. Look at the crowd at a middle school for this game. The line to get into this game wrapped around the building, almost impossible to get in. But that's essentially what it is. But why he played, why he chose to play now, that's interesting.
Well, so let's put those together. Why does he choose to play now? And who is he delivering a message to? When LeBron James doesn't ever say anything by accident, right? He's not just sitting up there talking on his show. He's delivering a message. Who is he delivering it to, and what is it?
I have two theories. I have two maybe targets, and then there's also maybe he's just talking. A lot of these things on the shop were taped weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, so we don't know when this was delivered. But he generally does subtext people, and this could be Jeannie Buss. This could be maybe Anthony Davis. About get at this level where you're only focused on championship. But I think it's more Jeannie Buss. I think he's saying, I know I'm late 30s. I have a contract extension coming up. We're going to be talking about that pretty soon. And I'm still about winning. I know I'm in LA for business. I moved here for a lot of things for my post-career setting up family. I want to be here, but I'm also here to win. And I want to remind you of that. While you have me, do things to help us win.
All right, so while we are in the midst of this, it's important to make sure everyone is aware that over this weekend, or since we were last all together anyway, Russell Westbrook and his agent, longtime agent, have parted ways. This is the agent who he's been with basically going back to right when he came out of college. And they parted ways, and the agent released a statement that I think gives us some interesting insight into where Westbrook's head might be right now. Woj, pick it up from there. What do we think Russell Westbrook is suggesting here when the agent tells us that he thinks Westbrook wants to move on?
In my conversations with Russell Westbrook in this offseason, I think as much as anything, he wants to be wanted. But look at his actions since the season ended. At the press conference for Darvin Ham and building a relationship with his new coach. They have spent time talking, texting, communicating, and trying to figure out the best way to use Russell Westbrook, if he's there this year, to maximize him for that team. And then Summer League last week in Vegas, Russell Westbrook comes to town. He's sitting by the Laker bench with their young players. He's with them going in to halftime. So I think Russell Westbrook, he wants to have success in LA. This is his fourth team in 4 years. His family, obviously that was a big part of this, being able to go back to LA. He's been an integral part of that community. He grew up there. He doesn't want to bounce around every year. And this was, in a lot of ways, a dream scenario to go back there. Last year did not go well. It didn't go well for him. Didn't go well for others on the Lakers. But I think for Westbrook, he wants to make this work, but he also knows he's been in trade talks. He continues to be in trade talks. And if there were teams who landed him, who had big cap space and had a really young team, they may not want a player at his stage in his career playing a lot of minutes or even necessarily being on a team because they're in full rebuilds. So it leads to certainly some uncertainty about what next year looks like.
Well,
for
to
him.
Adrian's point about Russell Westbrook and him being in trade talks, that message LeBron James was saying was, I know this team isn't good enough. And that's why he wants to play by himself, right? Because if it's him against everybody else, you might still pick LeBron over anybody in the league if you're trying to win one game. But you need 15 guys to win. And as we know, the Lakers, for a variety of reasons, have a roster that's very limited. And when you look at the Western Conference, to me, it's hard to see the Lakers being out of the play-in tournament mix, let alone being a team that's competing for championships, which is why, obviously, the Kyrie Irving situation sitting out there is sort of the one Hail Mary the Lakers have, that if that can come together, great. But as Adrian has reported a bunch, and as we've talked about a bunch, the Lakers are dependent on the Nets doing something there. It's not that the Lakers can go get something done. They're stuck. And so LeBron knows that, and that's why they are where they are.
Well, that's what I keep coming back to, Woj. I keep saying, and I don't mean this to sound as disrespectful to Russell Westbrook as I know it would appear, because he's had a great career, and who knows, maybe he does still have something left. He's a first-ballot Hall of Fame player. But based upon how bad the fit is, if they could turn Russell Westbrook into Kyrie Irving, that would be a basketball miracle. That would take the Lakers from a place where they realistically have no chance to really compete to a team that, Alan, a lot of people I talk to think could be a legitimate contender. And maybe not the favorite in the Western Conference, but you certainly wouldn't put it past them.
No, but you'd also have to, and again, I'm going to look at this from Jeannie Buss's eyes. I do think there is a bit of trepidation here after what you just saw happen across the river in Brooklyn the last year or two, where, you know, will the same thing come here now? Will we have to put up with some of this stuff because you know what precedes Kyrie Irving at this point in his career? But you have LeBron, and your hope is that he will have a little bit more of a leadership voice with Kyrie to not necessarily keep him in line. I don't think that's the right word, but I do think it's more or less keep him motivated to play basketball regularly and help them win.
Well, and so that, Woj, then brings us to what I think is really the question here. Can the Lakers do that? We've talked about it a lot last week. Tim just said it's dependent on the Nets. The Nets have to make the first move here. Walk us through what exactly we have with Kyrie Irving right now.
Hey, the Nets right now are focused on trying to find a Kevin Durant deal. I would be surprised if they did a Kyrie Irving trade, even if they do one at all, before they figure out what Kevin Durant's future is, whether that's getting traded before the season or perhaps does it become him starting at least training camp in Brooklyn. And I think for the Lakers, there's more out there for them than just Kyrie Irving. They have, you know, whether it's Eric Gordon. Now, these aren't all-star level players, but Eric Gordon, who certainly brings shooting, Buddy Hield from the Pacers. Those are two players they've talked about, both former Rob Pelinka clients from his agent days. And I still think there are other scenarios out there that maybe they're certainly not the level. There aren't many Kyrie Irvings out there. And they're certainly not available in trades. What the Lakers are trying to avoid is just absolutely mortgaging all of their future to get off of a contract